Hey guys, Cesar here. It's that time again as I go through my 4 comics of the week, so let's get started. First off is Attack on Titan 62. If you have been following this manga, in particular during the last 12 months, you probably know that the current arc has been all about humans in the effect that power has on them, particularly political power. The beginning of this chapter continues with that trend, by once again showing to the audience that Erwin, despite seeming like the most reasonable leader, may be one of the biggest bastards on the place, but enough of politics already. The second segment deals with putting Levi's squad up to speed on Zoe's recent discoveries about the Titans. Then we get new information regarding her investigation on the ruling faction, which then ties with the final third of the chapter. Anyway, the final reel of this issue answers a question that has been running around in the fandom for quite some time. And while I can't tell you exactly what happens because I will feel dirty for spoiling it, I'm going to ramble on why the reveal works in the context of the narrative. The secret component on a good twist resides on the amount of information that your viewer has available. Now, obviously there are two ways to screw this up. One being by not giving information of setup. This approach makes the twist seem unnatural and shove it in just for the sake of unpredictability. Many final twists in horror movies fall into this category. The second way to screw it up is by giving too much information. We know how the twist is going to play up and how it's going to affect the story in the short and the long run. This is where a lot of children's movies fall. The good way to set up a twist is to let the audience know the general overview of what's going to happen, but hiding the details of it. These details can be the significance the twist is going to have on the rest of the story, how it ties with the rest of the past developments, or even how the characters react to it. This minimal information is what gives weight to the twist. Attack on Titan has always used this approach, even on its craziest developments, and here is no exception. Overall, the best I've seen from the series in a while, and not only that, the crazy final reveal comes with the best art Hajime Isayama has ever devised. I can't wait for more. This gets a 4.5 out of 5. Next is Wolverine and the X-Men number 10. I admittedly dropped this book at the end of the first arc due to shaky focus and the feeling that writer Jason Latour was trying to cram in as much as possible. That being said, I was also interested in the reaction of the JGS staff to the death of its founder. I was really surprised by the direction taken by this issue. I thought it would be more angst-loaded, but it almost borderlines on celebration. Instead of focusing on the shock of losing somebody close to you, this issue is more about nostalgia, and I could feel the same things that I usually end up feeling after a funeral: sadness, but also gratefulness. The people that Logan met are thankful that they met him. Now, the other thing that caught my eye about this issue is the art. Each vignette has a different artist. Some of them are very crazy and creative, but there were a few that pushed the boundary between cartoonish and amateurish. I would have preferred that the artist would have settled down on a basic guideline because some of the transitions are downright jarring. But anyways, this was a refreshingly angst-light remembrance issue, with some highlights art-wise. Who knows, maybe I will be going back to this title later. 3.5 out of 5. Next up is Death of Wolverine: The Logan Legacy number 1. If you have been following my videos for a while, you probably know why I'm covering this one. I'm a hardcore X-23 fan and I will follow her wherever she pops up. Now, I had the suspicion that this first issue will be used as the Where Are They Now, and the following ones will cover the How Did They Get There, and I was right. There is some scattered info on what happened to each character before they ended up on their current predicament, but they managed to keep the mystery hidden. Writing-wise, the highlight is Charles Soule's interpretation on Mystique, and the ending, which seems to point out to a bigger problem that sets the cliffhanger that will be ultimately be resolved by the final issue of this mini. Another point of interest is the appearance of a certain X-Men that I haven't seen in 4 years, which is a rather long time comic book-wise. Now, this issue does present a problem in the writing department. Every first issue has to set up a hook for the readers to keep going. The problem here is that the hook is presented with the subtlety of a brick to the face. I mentioned that they show scattered info on the character's situation before arriving to their current predicament, but those shows come with a textbook that literally says, "For more information, buy this." I don't need that. The writing and the imagery together managed to evoke enough interest, and the ending revelation made me go, really? It's one of the weirdest plot devices I have heard in a while, and it feels ridiculously contrived. All in all, this is an interesting first start to this miniseries, but with a few baffling choices on the delivery of the initial hook and some irregular art due to excessive shading. I gave this a 3 out of 5. And finally, Batman Eternal number 28. And thank goodness they changed the artist, and they couldn't pick anyone better for this issue in particular than Megan Hetrick. I really like her character designs, and also appreciate the close-up on the faces. She can really draw emotion in an expression. I also liked Romulo Fajardo's colors, particularly his use of lighting. This is the best the book has looked in a long time, and thank goodness, because this issue packs 2 important and emotional character moments. The script of this issue was handled by Tim Seeley, and its definite highlight is its handling of Selina Kyle. I'm going to deviate a little to illustrate why this works. If you have been dwelling around the Spiderman forums for a while, you probably have noticed some outrage for Dan Slott's version of Alicia Hardy, and I consider it completely justifiable, more than anything because it feels like she was just made a villain in order to give Spider-Man an enemy to fight. There was no character journey. We were just given a Freudian excuse for Felicia's change. Catwoman's rise to gang leader, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. We have seen her reach this destination on her own terms. She took her own decisions and faces the consequences for those decisions, and yet it always felt like she wasn't changing for the sake of plot. The final page reflects Selina's arc throughout the series. It stays true to the roots of her character, yet it also feels like she completed a journey on her own to change the status quo. The other side of the issue, dealing with Barbara, I'm a bit less crazy about, particularly because of the inclusion of Jason Todd. And no, this has nothing to do with the supposed cheapness, but with the direction of the character. It seems that the editors can't decide on what Jason Todd is supposed to be. It seems that Eternal on the list is following the route taken by James Tynion run of Red Hood and the Outlaws, which is the non-rage inducing part of that book. The good news is that he doesn't help Barbara by babying her. That would have been insulting, and more than a little bit sexist. Instead, he reminds her of his good qualities, and that's something I can totally get behind. I'm just not sure he's the right person to do so. In conclusion, this was a big step up from the last time I checked this book. It had very eye-catching art, and added great momentum to Selina's story. The only problem is that the whole situation with the martial law in Gotham feels forgotten by now, and that's something I can't ignore. For that, the book loses an entire point in my scale, but it still gets a solid 3.5 out of 5. And that will be all for this week. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This is Cesar saying, I'll see you all next week with 4 comics under my sleeve.